Hey guys, what's going on? Jimmy the Alley. Welcome to Wayfinder Wednesday, episode 11, even though it's late because they didn't post their one because I guess they're just fucking dying of death over there in their office, trying to scrape together what's left of this game and get it out to the public. I'm not trying to doom and gloom it or anything, but they are struggling and it does show. They are trying their best to get everything together since their publisher just left them. And they still can't even patch on PlayStation and stuff, so it is getting a bit dire over there. But they are trying to keep interest high, which is really nice, by doing small patch previews of this big patch. One of the weird things is they're not being very consistent with it. One thing, if you go on Twitter and Discord, will give you two completely different answers on the situation. For example, I'll put them side by side on the screen as I talk about them. If you go to Twitter, you'll see, and for the next 2 weeks, we'll be previewing some of the 2,000 plus changes included in our December 0.2 update, including performance and UI, weapons and stat rebalance, earning in-game cosmetics, new customizable options, and more. Come check back tomorrow for our first preview. But on the Discord, you'll have, for the next week, we'll be previewing some of the 1,300 plus changes in our 0.2 update to the Wayfinder this December. We'll have some awesome updates, including performance, UI, both on the Twitter one, but the Senjaya rework wasn't listed there, and then everything's the same: weapon, stat rebalance, ability to earn in-game cosmetics, and new customizable options, and many more. Check back tomorrow for our first preview. I find it's weird that they have two completely different numbers. Like, 1,300 and 2,000 are nowhere near the same fucking number. They are hundreds off each other. And also, they didn't mention the Senjaya rework. But if you do go on the Twitter and scroll down into that post, the first reply to someone will be one of the updates that it doesn't show, which is the fact that they're giving you a option to quit to the main menu or quit to desktop, which you can see on screen right now. And if you do scroll down as well, someone is asking if Senjaya will finally become a character, and we can confirm that the Senjaya rework will be in this update. Stay tuned for more to preview her changes soon. And yeah, that's where it stands. It's just weird how they're marketing this. I feel like this should have been a bit more of a coherent narrative. It's either 2,000 changes plus or 1,300 plus. You could argue the plus is there just to like give them leeway. But if you're gonna say one number, just say one number and plus it. 1,300 plus is fine. We don't need 2,000 plus. If you have more 1,300 plus, then just say that. And I feel better that I don't know how many changes you've got because you're just giving me radically different numbers. But I digress. The first preview was very simple. It was just customizable weapon dyes, which is on the video for you. There's a video on the screen for you right now. And as you can see, you can now have different character dyes. There's more options. And the weapon dyes does change the weapon's look greatly. And it does seem you can dye multiple parts of the weapon, not just the one dye for the whole weapon. So it will be interesting to see how that all works out, and if it does increase customizability within this game that is kind of lacking it from a character standpoint. There's not many ways you can customize and express yourself within this game, so it'll be interesting to see all these changes come through. The press preview that came out today that I thought was going to be a Wayfinder Wednesday kind of changes the game up completely. As you can see in the video on your screen, swords and shields and scythes auto attacks have been increased speed wise, which is amazing. Seeing the scythe attack a lot faster is nice. Scythes are a medium attacking weapon to me. They don't attack super fast, but they do attack fast enough that you don't they're not a heavy weapon by my standards, and they kind of bundled them in with a heavy weapon, so I didn't really like the scythes in this game. But with this update, I definitely will be willing to try the scythe out. Also, they're going to change the parry. Now, this is one talking point I do have a lot to say about. Parries in this game right now are way too safe and not as rewarding. When you hit the parry button, you'll go into a stance, but you hold that stance for a very long time, and you don't really get much out of it except reduce, just like taking no damage. Now, what I think the parry system should be, and how they should change it to make some, good changes within the game, is make it more risk-reward. There should be more risk in pulling it out too early, but more reward in timing it perfectly. For example, I think a smaller window in which you can press the button and actively get the parry off, but increase stance break and or give a guarantee sword dance just increases the usefulness of a parry. Yes, I get it already blocks all damage coming in at you already, but it's just so safe and it doesn't really do much except block that damage, that I think that it would be a cool way to make it, you know, risk reward while increasing the difficulty and giving players something to strive to succeed in. Right now, one of the big problems with Wayfinder that I will say is that there's not a big skill ceiling and there's not much you have to learn to get the most out of your weapons or to get the most out of your kit. Some characters do have more complicated kits, obviously, and pulling their combos off are a lot more of a task than, for example, Silo, where it's literally just throw your firebomb and shoot/hit them as much as you possibly can to get the most out of your kit. But I think adding a risk-reward parry system in that is more meaningful will make it so that there's more of a skill ceiling for players to achieve and get down and get improved. That, like, if your parry needs to be closely perfect time than it is now, it means that players will have to learn the timings of enemies more, rather than just, oh, he's winding up an attack, let me press it, and I still have a good chunk of time, so if it's a long wind up, I'm still fine. I feel like we should be learning exactly what attacks the enemy should be pulling out at us in the higher difficulties, and with parrying, you just don't. But that's my take on parrying. The good change, however, is something that I didn't realize until recently while looking into it. I kind of thought weapon abilities scaled with ability power, but I was wrong. Now weapons are going to scale as a 50-50 with ability power and weapon power. Currently, they are only scaling with weapon power, which I find really weird. There's two ways to go about this. There's this way where you have a 50-50 scaling, so every Wayfinder can still use every weapon, and ability power builds are going to have some sort of extra structure towards them. And ability power builds are also going to have a bit more leeway now in what weapons they can use, and have extra damage within using their ability weapons. That being said, my preferred route would be to take some of that choice away from the player and have weapons either scale with weapon power or ability power, or have a mixture of everything. Have a weapon power, a 50-50 split, and ability power weaponry coming in and doing what they need to do. I think that is probably where we should end up in the future, where we have weapons doing certain things and filling certain jobs. Having everything be a fit-all situation is good, but it's not in the end of the day, because it just means that certain things always will struggle, especially when nerfs and buffs come around for a weapon. For example, if a weapon is really strong and it's a 50-50 split and you reduce the damage of the weapon ability power builds will struggle with that, because of the fact that they only get 50% of that split and you've just nerfed it. Where if you have a weapon, for example, that is just ability power, it can only overperform with ability power. Where with the split, a weapon can overperform in a physically powered build and a weapon power build and get nerfed because of it, and that affects the ability power build. It's just, when you try and make everything fit one whole system, when you change something, you indirectly hit another. And I don't want this to be a game where, like, they nerf something that affects something else, and then it just nukes this build, and then this build becomes less viable, and it wasn't even trying to affect this stuff. That's what happens normally when you try and make everything a one-size-fits-all solution. So I'm happy we're getting there. This is a change that needs to be done, and I think it's being done within the Sanjaya rework. Sanjaya right at the moment has this thing where you taunt the enemies and stuff, and then when the bar is full, you get more weapon power and ability power, and I think they're going to double down on this aspect of the character, where she gains weapon power and ability power, and I think this is how they're going to translate it into weaponry, being more substantial on her. But we'll have to wait and see on that. The Sanjaya rework probably won't be shown off until the full patch notes, I would go with, or it'll be the last thing they would show off. Finally, we were also working on all ranged weapons. You have to come back tomorrow to see what we have planned for sharpshooters. I'll drop a quick video to see what they're doing with sharpshooters, but this is why I've tried to move away from ranged weaponry, because they are insanely broken right now, and eventually this was bound to happen where all ranged weapons were going to take a hit in some capacity, which is why I tried to move towards the daggers and stuff. They're my favorite weaponry in the game that isn't a shotgun at the moment, and I didn't want to be so dependent on like the Tempest or whatever, and boil down to like, well, I've got so used to the Tempest, and it's not going to matter because now the Tempest is not a good weapon, and I don't know how to do melee combat because I haven't been using any of the melee weapons. That's why I kind of branched out and started using a lot of melee weapons in my videos, just to get used to the melee combat, so when this eventually did happen, I wasn't out and left to dry and suffering a massive loss. I'm kind of really interested to see what those parry changes are, because seeming I use daggers, parry changes are a big thing for me, because I'm currently in the boat where I just hit parry as soon as I see someone charge up an attack, and I parry it, even if it's a long-winded one. So if they reduce that safety net, it's going to be a long learning process on actually like finding out what attack is what and how fast or slow it is, but we'll get there eventually. I am pretty chuffed with what I've seen so far. The ability to earn in-game cosmetics is going to be a big contestant point for me, depending how they go about this and how cosmetics are. If you just give us dyes, you're fucked up. You automatically lose the race. If it's just dyes, you automatically just lose the race. If you start with dyes and go forward, great. But if you literally just have dyes and that's it, you're fucked up. If the majority are dyes and there's one or two actual cosmetics, you're in the right direction, because then you can start adding as we go forward, and you're just testing it with the dyes and giving us something to grind towards with the cosmetics as well. It's just something to grind for, and I'm hoping they put a decent amount in, not a shit ton, not a lot, just a decent amount, something that gets me going for a bit. Right now I haven't been playing, because right at the moment all I have is the set for silo to grind. I could try and do the ability power silo build that I've wanted to try for a while, but I'm not in the mood to go grind all the stuff for that at the moment, especially with SOD coming out and me playing retail and stuff. It's not in the limelight at the moment for me to be doing these things, as well as I've got so backlogged with videos that I didn't want to use Vegas for. Now that I've got new software, I'm trying to get more videos out, like the Bloodborne one, Lies of P, the Cyberpunk DLC that I did and started on Vegas, and the constant crashes made me just not want to do it, because I don't know why certain projects just crash 10 times more and other projects don't. Like, a lot of Zavalin had crashing issues, but it didn't crash a lot when I was doing the editing for it. But the Cyberpunk one crashed like every fucking few edits, and if I didn't save after every edit, I was like at risk of just losing so much progress randomly. So I just lost the will to do that, but I'm going to go back to all those and get them done with my new software. Thank you to my friend who bought me that software. It has made my day when I saw that he gifted me it just so much fucking better, because I couldn't keep going on Vegas and I didn't have the money to buy it while it was on sale. And someone stepped up and just made my day 100 times better, made my life 100 times easier, and I can't thank him enough for that. It truly, truly, truly means more than he'll ever understand that he bought me that. With that being said, that's the patch notes. That's all there is so far about the December update. I'll keep updating the December update as it goes forward, and we'll figure out what we'll do for Wayfinder Wednesdays going forward when there's no content, because I need to find stuff to do. Because I like playing the game. The game is fun. It's just I'm busy with everything else around me at the moment to sink that many hours into it. Don't yawn. Anyway, that was Wayfinder Wednesday, episode 11. I hope this finds you well. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm so tired. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.